In this problem, we're being given the equation y equals the sine of x times the cosine of x. And then they want to know what is the derivative value, dy dx, at x equals 0. So we're being asked, really, if you want to think about it in terms of f of x's, this would be asking us to find f prime of 0. So we take the equation y equals the sine of x times the cosine of x, and we find the derivative. So looking at this problem right now, you can see that you've got two things being multiplied. So anytime you've got two chunks being multiplied, you're going to want to follow what's called the product rule. So every rule has what I call a recipe that goes with it. Different people have different ones memorized. My recipe for the product rule goes f g prime plus gf prime. I label the first chunk the f piece, the second chunk the g piece, and then I go break it into bite-sized little math problems and find that g prime and that f prime. So looking at this problem here, I'm going to call the sine of x is my f piece, the cosine is my g piece. And I would just, again, break this into bite-sized little math problems. So f is equal to the sine of x, g is equal to the cosine of x, and then from there I need to go find my f prime and my g prime. Finding the derivative of sine, well, the derivative of our trig functions are what I refer to as special case derivatives. These are derivatives that you just have to have memorized. If you have it memorized, not a problem. If you don't have them memorized, you're probably not going to guess it in the middle of an AP Calc test. So here, if f of x is equal to the sine of x, the derivative of sine of x is cosine of x. So then my f prime is cosine of x. Then looking at g, the cosine of x, and having to find the derivative of that, well, that's another special case. Again, you just have to have these trig function derivatives memorized. So if f of x equals the cosine of x, the derivative of cosine is negative sine. So my g prime on this is the negative sine x. Now that I have what I just call my ingredients, I'm now ready to follow my product rule recipe. So the derivative of y, dy dx, is going to equal, follow the recipe. First go grab the f piece, cool, sine of x. Then we're going to multiply that by g prime, all right? That will be negative sine of x. Then plus from the recipe, go grab the g piece, cosine of x, multiply it by f prime, the derivative of f, which would be cosine of x. So there's our derivative, and then what they want us to do is they want us to plug 0 into our derivative. Notationally, when you're dealing with this type of notation, you would kind of see it as dy dx evaluated at, that's what that bar means, at x equals 0. So we're going to take, and everywhere we see an x in this equation, we're going to plug in 0. So this would be the sine of 0 times the negative sine of 0 plus the cosine of 0 times the cosine of 0. Now, because of course this is a calculator not allowed section, you got to know your unit circle like the back of your hand. So we're looking for when x equals 0, when our theta equals 0. So theta equaling 0 is right here on our unit circle. That's the point 1, 0. And from there, we have to remind ourselves that the x value in these situations is always the cosine value, and the y value is always the sine value. So as we go through this right now, we're looking at either 1 or 0, depending upon if it's a cosine or a sine function. So the sine of 0, that's going to be the y value here, is 0, times, and then negative sine of 0 is again going to be 0. Then plus the cosine of 0 is going to be 1 times another cosine of 0, which is also 1. So out of there, we end up with 0 plus 1, which equals 1. And so our final answer would be option C. Here, the key to this was you got to know the product rule. You got to have a product rule recipe that you can just spit out of your brain in 2 seconds. And you had to know a bunch of special case derivatives. Again, you just have to have these things memorized. Thanks for watching my video. If you liked it, please click that like button and subscribe. And also share it with your friends and anyone else you know who might be crying about an upcoming AP Calc test. You can find more videos from me, more sample AP Calc questions, and my complete AP Calc study guide over at my website, apcalcprep.com. Have a great one.